use a variety of paints from for the leathers. Here it is, Vallejo Dark Skin for a lot of their tan leather looking. Some Parasite Browns. For the lighter stuff, I would use this yellow rust here from Panzer Aces. The metal for their axe heads, I use Skaven Blight Dinge from Citadel. For some of their gloves and their tunics, Incubi Darkness. The silver of the champions here, I used this Badger airbrush. It's a very silvery primer. Most of their skin started out with, it's the first thing I did after I primed them. I primed them black, and then I did a primer of gray over top of them, try to create a shading effect that you kind of see there. And then I went through second and added pale flesh to all their faces, and was pretty sloppy with the paint jobs, as you can see on this guy here, around their faces, and then touched up with a cadmium flesh or a tanned skin tone over top of that, just to add some different contrasting colors within their face. The wood of their axes, I use the natural wood here for a lot of it. Sometimes I use black, sometimes I used just straight up brown, wood brown. And the hair was a variety of colors and different shades. We used anything from wood grain and then bronze flesh over top of that to something lighter like that sun yellow. For the redheads, we did some Oxido rust color from Vallejo with some yellow over top of it, even the wood grain over top of that. Lots of grays were used. Bugman base, or Bugman's glow, was used for some of the tunics that you see here. Oops, that you see there. So I'm not quite finished with them. About 90% done. What I did, I just did one collar at a time and set up all my minis, kind of placed them left to right, got my paint on a piece of wax paper, and just picked one up at a time and just kind of touched up what I needed to see for contrast for these guys. Like I said, they're about 80% done at this point in time. What I'm going to do next is mix up my own wash. Mix up my own wash by getting a glass of water and just some regular old Apple Barn paint, and so I don't have to use my washes or my Nuln oil on all of these guys, because I don't care as much as what they look like, because they're a unit as opposed to an individual model. So I can be a little sloppy with these guys, spend a lot less time on them. Get this mixed up good. Okay. Next, I'll take my model holder here, place it in like this, and then dip it in and then shake it off. And I want to step outside to do that. So here I am outside with my minis and my models. I also brought along my Stark Sworn Swords. Or I'm sorry, I want the black to settle in to their chainmail. Stir this up a little bit more. This is my first guy here. attach him in. All the way up to the base. See where he's dripping. And then just go. I've yet to lose a model this way. Just don't snap too hard. And then I will pop him loose. Set him here to dry and grab the next one. No, don't get me. That black nice and thick on. And so on. I'll come back in a moment. There we go. So it took me about 10 minutes to do all these, and it took the brightness out of the armor and the leathers. Something that shouldn't be too bright anyways is the Umber Berserkers. So now I'm just going to do a quick dry brush of all the models. And for that, I'm going to be very quick and kind of sloppy about it. Using Ultharian Gray for a quick highlight. The first one at least, before I go back and touch up things a little more permanent. And I'm just trying to hit the cloaks here. To give some contrast there. That's the main purpose of these, using this gray here. Just to lighten up those cloaks. So far, this is what we have. See the raised highlights there? Giving some dimension to that fur. Alright, so as I wrap up here, I want to just get a little bit of rust gray and smear it around here. Even it out on my brush, almost like you're dry brushing. See those little raised areas there? I'm just going to hit them to kind of get some separation in the layers. Not necessarily a highlight, so to speak. I mean, it is, but it's not like that's not what I'm going for. I'm not going for a strict highlight. I'm kind of doing it from all directions, especially along the knuckles. On that hand there. So we can start seeing those raised areas, seeing the difference between the between the browns, so it's not all just one color. Kind of like how the edge of your belt gets frayed and lighter colored, so I'm kind of hitting the edges of those leathers. I'm hitting the edges of the leather like they're worn out a bit. Now I'm going to do a little highlight on some of the blondies here, not much at all, so I put a little dab here, a little dab there, and just touch up the hair there. And a little bit on the beard here. And that's really it. I probably underdo things at times, but you know, I don't want to overdo it. I can always come back and do more. Very little highlights on the edge of these. My reddish browns. So I used P3 to paint his face completely white, so it went from this to a white face. And then I used some Ardon black here and a spear from Kingdom Death. So I needed that tip right there. I did this. So I painted his white face white and then stripped over. So it's almost like he has his war paint on. There you see those stripes. I might do a couple more like that as well, because that looks fun. Trying to make it look like there's a hand that they placed on their foreheads. Like the right hand is Saruman. Or something crazy like that. Real lightly. We'll try it out and see what it does. Better shake it out first. Next guy out has a little bit of black. Don't drop me. This guy here, Umber Champion, has more of a gray. I didn't use black to paint that cloak. I can still use the purple to hit the highlights. See how that shimmers. Again, just hitting those highlights, those high spots, those raised areas. For some of the gray hair individuals, I'm going to use this to highlight in their hair. Rakesh Karth Flesh. So this guy here is going to get some highlight, some more Karth Flesh. Take some Cadian flesh tone here and touch up their faces. They are barbarians in war, but sometimes they just look a little too muddy. So I'm just going to highlight that up just a hair. Just a touch there. While leaving their eyebrows alone, I take my two champions and outline them with some brass. Now I'm choosing to rub the inside of this here, or paint the inside of this here, instead of going on the rim of it. It's really good and important to have a nice fine tip and a brush, something I do not have at the moment. Gotten good use out of these brushes. Got them for Christmas from the wife. She bought me and her set. And we've used them quite a bit where they're starting to wear out. Go with some rosy skin, or outlining rather. Handle that little plate and sit right there. All right. So for the most part, I think I'm done. Wrapping up my bannerman here, I opted for some Mephiston red, and then that's for the base color of the flag. Then I used the lighter skin tones, P3, and then I pulled out here some dark rust to get his skin, and then back to Altharian gray. No, I'm sorry, rust gray for the chains. Throwing a little bit of white scar for the teeth. I don't know if you can see, how well you can see this. We'll zoom in a little bit. Okay. That side was primed gray. That side was primed black. As I mentioned earlier, I shot primed all in black, and then I came back and reshot, or reprimed in gray, but only from a direction. I got some touch-up work to do there. But yeah, that's what the black primer and gray primer, as far as how the tones are handled. Last little touch up is blood for the blood god. Put more on after the paint dries well. After the highlight paint dries, I'll add some more blood on the models. So this is pretty much done. After this, I'm going to spray them. My preferred spray to seal models is the Krylon matte finisher.
So I find it does a pretty good job without ruining the finish. There's my minis. And I want to thank you for sticking around with me, and I hope that you get your minis painted as well. Alright, have a good night.